Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. I'm Grace Tang, your host today. I'm the founder and CEO of MI Tech Enough. Welcome to our second Tech Enough Happy Hour. Today's theme is mentoring the next gen. Going back to the old day when I was a mentee, it was 24. I was 24, starting my first corporate job. I actually took deliberate initiative to schedule my mentoring session with my mentor, prepare for the mentoring topics, properly plan how to utilize a mentoring session to actionable outcomes. I also took care of the mentor relationship throughout the session and maintained a great connection after the mentoring period. And having grown up from now a little bit more, I've become a mentor for the younger students and startup teams. I think moving from being the mentor seat to the mentee seat to the mentor seat is actually great milestone and definitely a reflection of different life perspectives. Over the next 40 minutes, we are going to unpack mentoring for the next gen in the era of AI. It is my honor to welcome our moderator, Alex Bowen, program executive, and also the first guest speaker actually on our MI Techno podcast back in 2024. In the panel, we have Gayu Lewis, workplace wellness architect, and Mahmoud, co-founder and creative media professional. Also, we have Roma Rizwan, founder and coach. We are all ears to your mentoring stories. Over to you, Alex.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Grace. It's a delight to be with the team here tonight. And hopefully those on the webinar will get a lot from it. So thank you for the introductions to everyone. I think yeah, we've kind of got some questions which we've all sort of thought of as a group, which might help us tell some stories for the audience tonight. So I'll kind of just go around the virtual room if that's okay. And yeah, maybe Gayu, I'll come to you first because you're right in my eye line on my webcam. What does mentoring the next generation, really mean? And what makes it truly impactful, do you think?
I think first is I think we have a few extra gray hairs. I think that kind of helps us with the fact that we've probably seen more years, got more experience in general. And I think with mentoring um, is not just about giving answers to your mentees. I think it's more about, helping them understand you and also trust you, create that bond. I think that's very important. And that's what I believe is one of the key or the crux to a good mentor-mentee relationship. It's the trust factor, and then you're like more open and they understand. They're like, you're just not talking out in the air, but actually someone who's lived through what they're going through at the moment.
Yeah, no, I definitely get it. That lived in experience, and yeah, definitely feel the grey hairs as well. Reem, what does it mean to you in terms of mentoring the next generation?
Actually, it means that helping people to see what they can see about themselves. Like a lot of young people have potential, but they don't always have clarity or confidence. Mentoring helps them understand their strength, shape their voice, and know how to represent themselves in the real world, especially if, in media and PR field. It's even more impactful. Many people have talents, ideas, or great work, but they struggle with visibility. So they don't know how to position themselves, tell stories, and share their values. So here, mentoring comes. It's a guidance, help them to direct themselves in the right way and to be seen. This is from my perspective.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I definitely resonate with that. Helping build someone's confidence, I think, is so valuable when you're sort of really fresh and entering the workplace. Yeah, it's a big scary place, so having someone to do that, I think, is fantastic. And yeah, last but not least, Roma, great coaching pedigree, but from a mentorship perspective, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, thank you. So, I'm actually borderline millennial and Gen Z. So when I was young, I would always hear that, you really have to work really hard. You have to go through the grind. You have to spend years of experience into knowing things so that you're able to be good enough and then be able to deliver well. But I think in today's age of, these young people and Gen Alpha that's out there, I mean, my daughter probably is a Gen Beta now, I think, if I'm right. So in this AI age and this today's world of tech, I think you don't really have to, spend years of experience in order to just learn a new skill, or, just to learn something new. You need to have someone out there who's gone through all of those years of experience and can probably just make it shorter, smarter, and probably more useful for you to just catch it up and, move on. Because now we see people who are so young, like in their early 20s, and they're, running big businesses. They're into tech, they're writing codes, they're doing so many things. So I feel like, although AI is out there to like kind of help you with every step of the way, but you should always have someone who can just kind of like give you the crux of those years of experience and give you the exact thing that you need to kind of like, move ahead. So that's why I think mentoring is just very, very important.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And one thing that I find interesting as well, actually, I'm sure as you all have, going through that, more kind of early working career where you're a mentee, and Grace mentioned it right at the top, now becoming a mentor. I'm definitely seeing kind of that relationship through fresh eyes, because I know what I valued back 10, 15 years ago when I needed some specific mentorship, and even now I still have mentorship and coaching, but I think it makes a difference. I guess it's like when you're a parent and you realize what your parents did for you actually made sense as a bit. So I think that's also quite interesting, being a mentor when you've been a mentee as well. I mean, our role, we're all hopefully making efforts to mentor or champion the next generation. Roma, you mentioned millennial, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, Gen Beta. What efforts do you make to mentor or champion that next generation?
Sorry, yeah. So I think in terms of what efforts I've been making, I wouldn't say that it's been very you can say structured or official throughout these years. I've been mentoring my younger colleagues. I've been mentoring students at my universities who were, relatively junior to me. Especially when you're right after graduation and you're getting into the job market, you see like these tons of kids getting out as well, these graduates. And, a lot of people want that kind of mentorship right there, just to like, see what kind of route do they need to take? What kind of direction do they need? Do they need to apply to at like 200 places and then wait for a response? Or do they need to make it, do they kind of like need to niche it down and be more structured about it? So I think as far as I can remember, when I talk about how I've mentored people, it's not been something very structured or something very official, or, go ahead, book a call with me. It's been very unofficial. It's been very, conversational. We'd be on a WhatsApp call, we'd be talking to each other, and there's going to be so much value that we could just drive out of it. Let's say if you're having if you're new in a workplace, you just want to understand, navigate, how do you talk to your managers? How do you kind of like, go about this new project you've gotten? How do you just polish up your resume? How do you go about these different projects? So I think it's the thing that I like the most about my mentorship style is that I've been very much out there, very conversational. You're sitting with people, having lunch together, and even then there's just so much to talk about. So I think that's kind of been the interesting part for me.
Excellent. No, it's great to hear. I think that social element and demystifying what it means, I think, is really important as well. Reem, do you want to kind of chime in on that?
Yeah, sure. Actually, in my journey, mentoring started very naturally. When I was studying in my university, I was involved in the studio, and I found myself helping others around me, whether guiding them during recording or supporting them with their ideas. So it wasn't something planned, but I realized that I enjoyed it. And then when I joined my first job, this continued with me without even noticing. I suddenly found it myself responsible about the new the new grads and the interns who joins the company, supporting them, guiding them, and helping them navigate their first steps. From that point, mentoring became part of who I am and not just something like I do. And in my work today, I mentor in different ways. Through media training, I help people find their voice, speak with confidence through podcasts and content, sharing real experiences, lessons, that help them supporting also behind the scenes, like reviewing their content, to help them position themselves in the right way and show the real value. So it's really something interesting, and it comes in, it's a natural way. From what I learn and from what I gain experience, I mentor them. For sure, it helps me to learn more and to be updated and stay updated on everything, because I need to give them the right information and the correct one in a very easy way. So it's very interesting, actually, from my perspective and from my experience.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's reverse mentoring. I'm not sure we're going to touch on that, but maybe we will. So yeah, fantastic. Gayu, help us with your perspective.
You know, for me, mentoring was never sitting on a table, setting up a meeting call. I come from operations. So I think for me, that was very on the job front. I was a chef. So, you know, it was always, if I sat with somebody and telling them, explaining how to make a recipe would have never worked, right? So it was all about very hands-on. And even throughout my career, even when I moved out of operations and, you know, from kitchen operations, I've been with sales and commercial operations. It was always more operational driven. So it was more on the job mentoring rather than, you know, being more formal. So it was not like we were documenting everything on a step-by-step basis, but it was more about that. I think that also plays a big part, because people, you know, a lot of people learn in a different way. Some people like it more structured, more, you know, paper type, but then a lot of people learn more practical. I am someone who learns very easily when it's a practical scenario. So I think that is what I mean, that was my style of working, which kind of helped based on, you know, the industries I worked as well.
Excuse me, that resonates with me a lot. I've also got an operations background, and I also don't really like textbooks, so I much prefer learning on the job. I'm going to just jump into a random question here, because it's not random in terms of the conversation we've had. I'm kind of just fast forwarding, imagining this is already out on YouTube. And there might be people who are not part of the Am I Tech Enough program, who have watched this far and are thinking, well, how do I get a mentor? I may be in a corporate entity, in a startup. What do I do? I don't see any obvious ways of doing it. What might be some kind of tips that you would give people thinking like that? Roma, did you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. I think it's also interesting to see that, the people that we're talking about, the audience, they're not the kind of people who would come up to you and be like, hey, you know what? I need your guidance. I think that you're very smart about this. Why wouldn't you just help me about it? I think this generation considers themselves to be smart enough to tackle any situation. So I don't think they're very hungry when it comes to, just going out there and asking people like, I really need your help. I think what's more important to understand is, if you really want to kind of influence the next generation, and this is for, both parties, I think you kind of need to be at the same mental stage. And that's about being, more open, not being too structured. These are people that are kind of like just challenging everything. They're challenging any status quo. These are people that are working from home and earning, like 6 figures a year. These are people who aspire to kind of like travel anywhere and work from anywhere in the world. So these are not the people who would, be like, they would want to ask their manager, can we just take a short leave tomorrow? They're the kind of people who would be, hey, you know what? I am delivering these results and I could be working from anywhere. So I think what's most important is that if you really want to, make impact, and also for these, for the younger generation to kind of like get maximum value, I think the synergies have to like kind of meet. We have to kind of change ourselves, evolve ourselves into a way which is more flexible. It's more outcome driven. You're talking about results, and it's not just necessarily about, following the same book of rules that we've been taught over the past years. So I think we just need to kind of like change how we look at things, how we want to interact with people, and how do what exactly value means to us, So that's very important to me.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's good to hear. Gayu, I'll come back to you. How what advice would you give people if they're thinking, how do I get some mentoring? Where do they start?
I think you've got the whole AI right now, which kind of gives you all the information that you kind of need. at your fingertips. And I don't know whether it's a blessing or I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty old, I have to say. For me, I'm always battling that element, but I think a human can never replace AI or any intelligence for that way, right? Because at the end of the day, when someone needs to go from A level to B level, you need some kind of hand-holding, somebody who can help you think a little differently, maybe, like I said, because of their life experiences. And I think that's where mentorship comes into play. I think that's the way I look at it, rather than, like I said, today you speak to ChatGPT and say, hey, I want to do this. It'll give you probably the whole thing, but that human element is where the experience kind of comes into play. I think that's where I feel that people look out for mentorship, because they need that special or the extra guidance from a human perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's only so much you can get from a machine until you start really needing that human EQ. Reem, what advice would you have for someone looking at trying to get mentorship? How would you direct them?
Actually, in my field, it's a little bit different because people reach out to you when they see kind of really nice content or a podcast. They ask a lot, how can we start? How did you get the idea? From where can we do or like start, or how can we get a guest or something like that? But actually, in this field, there's not a lot of people who would give you an advice. The top influencers would save those information to themselves. They don't like to share this kind of experience. So when they found someone who's guiding them and helping them to start and to work on their idea, they would appreciate that, and they will be consistent and learn a lot and would be interested. But also, especially that we are talking about AI in this field, there is like AI cannot help you a lot. I believe I use ChatGPT. I use kind of different platforms. They like, let's say what they reuse the same content which is already shared, and they rework on it in a different way, and they give it to you. So they cannot help you to write a script or content, or even to get a new idea. So I think because of that, a lot of people would be interested in mentoring in my field, and they would appreciate if someone helped them.
Yeah, fantastic. I guess just to add my 2 cents from my background. Yeah, I've been in large corporates all of my life, and I think sometimes when you're when you're at the bottom of an organization looking up, it's very easy to put these people are, you can create your own idea about what they're like, but actually they are just humans, and they behave like humans. And for me, if anyone's thinking, oh, I'd really love to be mentored by this person in this organization that I'm working with, honestly, I think just reaching out and saying, hey, would you like a coffee, is one of the best things to do. I don't think I've ever said no to a coffee. So I think that's just another way, and it does take that confidence, as you kind of mentioned a few times, Reem. But I would just say go for it. If you're in a large corporate, then people do. It's a great way to get introductions. So I'll try and stick to the script now a little bit. So I actually, it's a good juncture, because you spoke, Reem, actually about some of the challenges and barriers maybe in your specific field that people would have getting into mentoring. What are those challenges maybe that you've encountered in mentoring, and maybe more practically, how have you overcome them?
Okay, actually, a lot of people, one of the biggest challenge, the people think a lot of how others will see them, how others will think about them when they see their content. So they hold back themselves from trying. Also, being patient. Oh my God, this is one of the biggest challenge. Many of them don't have what we call long-term patience. They see people grow very quickly on social media. And they forget that those people started from a very simple beginning with a very basic equipment and whatever they had at that time. So this creates unrealistic expectations and pressures. When they see their content now, they forget about how they started before, and how long they took, and how patient they waited until they reached what they have right now today. Also, a lot of people want, actually it's the same point, they need fast results without doing the work. They look for shortcuts, thinking mentoring will give them immediate success. But actually, I believe that real growth takes time, consistency, and effort. And also, one of the other challenges is some mentees only want to hear positive feedback. They are not open to any honest or a critical advance. They just only want to hear positive feedback on what they have. So I actually, from the beginning, when I mentor someone, I'm clear. I explain that mentoring is sharing responsibility. I will guide and support you, but you need to take the action. You need to stay consistent. You need to focus on your own content and journey, and believe in yourself. And the people who understand this mindset, you will find them, they are growing, and you see their progress.
That's fantastic. Yeah, no, I think that really resonates. I think, yeah, helping those people with, I mean, there's unrealistic expectations, I guess, everywhere, you know, and it's quite hard sometimes to kind of step back from that. You only have to look at kind of sports, you know, where when I grew up, everybody wanted to be a professional footballer, but when you realize it 0.0001% of people who actually play, but you're seeing it all the time, so you just think, oh, maybe that can be me. Sadly, I was never good enough to even get to any kind of level, so thankfully my dreams were quashed. Roma, how about yourself? How about some challenges and barriers that you've maybe encountered when mentoring?
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with Reem that you try really hard to just sound positive when you're mentoring someone. So you just want to, sound nice, and, you want to, focus on a lot of good things, which is good. I mean, you should be doing that. But I think the biggest challenge, which I would feel, is sometimes just getting really true with people that, this is the area that you kind of like need to work on. And sometimes it also happens because, if let's say if I'm struggling with something and I just want real feedback and I want to improve myself in some area of my work or, working style, whatever, maybe it's actually something else, and I'm just worried about, a particular presentation, or I'm just, worried about this particular project, but it just goes back to something else. So I think as a mentor, you have to kind of make sure that you're focusing on everything that the mentee should be knowing about, whether that's good or bad, but then also putting it in a way where when they hear it, it's not just them hearing, but they can actually, put it at use. So they can understand that, okay, this is the area that maybe I need to be more, but then, they have an action item in their mind. So I think that's just very important, which I feel I've kind of encountered.
Fantastic. That's really practical. And actually, and kind of got one eye on the clock as well, but I think this is a perfect segue actually into one of the next questions that I really wanted to ask you, Gayu, because Roma, you sort of mentioned how people might be in a particular place concerned about something, but it might their behavior or communication might show up something differently. So Gayu, how do you think that kind of mental health and personal well-being affects a young person's ability to receive and benefit from mentoring?
Huge. We kind of don't ever take into consideration how much of stress, the brain in general takes. There's so many tests available for you to check how your body is doing, but unfortunately, they're not, unless you really go into, therapy or anything, there's not really any major test that can tell you how much stress this little brain is going through. And it affects everything from your personal life to your productivity to, in general, how you deal with everyday life and situations. So it's very important for, especially my advice to the younger generation, but I think the younger generation in general, I have to say, have got it much better in their head as compared to what my generation were. We believed in working very hard, and that's what we did. And I'm not saying it was bad, but it was somewhere we forgot our own mental health. It happened with me. I'm telling you personally, the reason I moved out of complete operations into what I do today, I'm a health and wellness coach, and I work with corporates on the same, was my own burnout. So I think identifying, so coming back to, I said the younger generation have at least something called as a boundary where they say, no, I don't want to do this right now. I don't want to work on a weekend. At least they've got that, we could look at them as, oh, they're being picky, but at somewhere in my head, it says, oh, at least they know where to draw their boundaries. So I think that is very, very, commendable, I must say, to the younger generation. But yes, so focus on your mental health, very important. So which is identifying any triggers in terms of stress that leads to a bigger stress, because stress that's not treated will lead to inflammation in the body, and then various other stuff can happen. So yeah, it's very, very important that you give importance to this bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Roma, from your perspective, how have you seen kind of mental health and personal well-being shape people who you've been working with in terms of mentoring?
Yeah, I think I'm going to talk about myself here. One of the reasons, so I've spent almost 8 years in the corporate, and then I was on the verge of burnt out. I mean, I wanted to get out of it. I wasn't enjoying it to the most, the things were not the same. And I realized that, I became a new mom, and I just realized the whole corporate structure doesn't really support new moms the way you would expect them to. So it's not like, you're back from your maternity leave and you can't really expect things to be the same, well, because your performance review has gone to another year now. We're not talking about your promotion anymore. So that is these are the things that, and all of that really affected my mental health. I wasn't really sure if, I'm really happy or if I'm really productive, because when I'm at work, I'm thinking about my baby. And then when I'm with my baby, I'm just thinking about, my next performance cycle. So I think it's very important that number 8, you identify what those areas are. Number 2, you do something about it. I know a lot of, I would have also been one of those. I could have stayed in that situation and, been very unhappy about it. I would have traded you can say my personal time for something that I'm not very happy about. But that is the thing where, you really need to pick up that, okay, this is what's affecting my performance, my mental health, and then this is what I can do about it. Maybe I could look for something, kind of roles that kind of go ahead with my flexibility. Maybe I can, see if there are any other opportunities out there. Maybe I could just start with a side hustle that could kind of become a main hustle sometime. Or maybe I could just go ahead and speak to my manager about these things that are bothering me, that are affecting me. And maybe if there's a way to kind of work around it, because, your manager won't be thinking about you, or the company or the HR wouldn't necessarily be thinking about you all the time. So if there is something, at the back of your mind that's bugging you, it's very important to go ahead to the people and talk about it, who could in some way, directly or indirectly, do something about it. They could make it better for you. They could ask you, okay, how about for the next 2 months, you could just leave the office 2 hours early and then you could just work from home. Or how about, during your office break, you could just go ahead and, like meet your baby. But this is just a baby related example. This could be anything. Let's say you're studying for your master's, or there's anything on the side, or maybe you're just taking care of your family. So I think it's just very important that you identify those areas and then you actively speak about it. There's no judgment about it. You don't have to consider as if you're going to be put down in terms of your whole career. You could always be very open about it and speak up about it. I think that's just very important.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, yeah, we'd need a whole nother hour if we wanted to do a seminar on mental health and well-being. And actually, to link it kind of to what you said, it was my mentor who helped me identify that I was going through a mental health challenge about 10 years ago. So not a therapist, not a coach, not a friend, not a partner, but it was my mentor. And I think it's just having someone to talk to where you can be open and they will listen. Even though I didn't know what was going on, they thankfully did. So again, I think it's just fantastic for people, if they do have a great mentor relationship, that they've got that avenue to turn to if they're not sure what to do.
Yeah, I just want to say that, Roma pointed out very, very well there that, but if you do wear a mask all the time and don't ask for help, even your mentor wouldn't be able to, really know that there is something going wrong. And most of the time, people have this stigma, right? That they will be judged. There is that stigma. So then they put that mask outside and they're like always smiling, trying to be prim and proper. But then inside they're really, really dying, is what I would say. And so that's where the whole thing is about, taking off that mask and saying, I really need help before it's too
Yeah.
late.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's culturally. I'm based in Hong Kong, so I know I can absolutely identify with the stigma behind it. But yeah, the openness, as kind of everyone sort of mentioned, is really key. So look, fantastic little discussion there. Actually, Reem, I'd love to kind of get your take on something a little bit different, actually, in a different direction. Your kind of PR, comms, and brand background, I think will be really great helping answer this question. How has media and storytelling, podcasts, live content, how's that played a role in mentoring at scale, sort of beyond just the one-on-one?
Actually, storytelling completely changed how we see mentoring. Before mentoring, it was like one-to-one, limited to the people who could directly join with you. But when I started creating content and when I see other people creating content and hosting podcasts, I realized that you could reach a lot to so many people at the same time. People connect more with stories more than instructions. When they hear someone's journey, challenges, growth, and see themselves in it, that's where the real impact happens. And I believe actually, a single episode or a piece of content can reach to someone you never met and reflect a lot on them and help them a lot in their journey. And sometimes it can also shift how they think, how they see themselves, and even the decisions they take. So I believe that it's a really powerful tool. Also through platforms like my agency Podit, we are a podcast and social media agency. It's the monitoring is not only through my voice. It's also through others where they share their voices and they work with others on content. So it's like the space is not only limited for the people who are doing content. Even if you just want to share your knowledge or you want to like listen or watch a live recording episode, you can come and join and experience that and meet the people and meet the hosts. So I believe it's changed. Actually, storytelling and media changed the game of how we can see the monitoring.
Yeah, fantastic. It's I mean, I think humans are very attracted to storytelling. It's something that we're all hopefully read stories when we were very young, and kind of that power stays with you throughout. And yeah, I love the idea of the podcast as well, and it would probably be remiss if I didn't sort of mention Grace's fantastic podcast series. So if anyone's watching this and searches Am I Tech Enough on Spotify, there's some fantastic speakers that Grace managed to speak to, and short, sharp 20 minutes, fantastic for a commute to work. And it genuinely feels like you're kind of being, listening to a mentor conversation with some of them. So fantastic. Okay, so I'll just move through a few of the remaining questions, because I think we're going to have a Q&A panel, and it'd be great to just have some time for the audience to submit any Q&As, or for Grace to kind of come and wrap things up. So I think mentorship is, it can definitely breed some fantastic successes. You might have found a defining moment where you saw mentoring like really change someone's trajectory. Roma, can I come to you first, and maybe can you share some of your key learnings when you've seen that kind of success?
Yeah, I think the moment you identify what that blocker is, and then you actively start looking for solutions to kind of like make it better for yourself, I think the universe kind of like starts working in your favor. So you start coming across opportunities that would be more relevant to you. You start having these conversations that would just make it worthwhile for you. So I think in terms of the transition, it's not always smooth. I wouldn't say that, it's seamless, it's very easy. No. You have to, it's kind of uncomfortable. You're not having the best time. But while you're going through it, there's so much of personal and professional transformation that you're having. There's so many new skills that you're learning, which you wouldn't have otherwise because, well, you just never had the opportunity. So I think there's room to learn a lot of new skills. You see what else you could be capable of doing, and then you also try to create systems, or you can say lifestyle or work lifestyle for yourself, which would actually work in favor of how you want it to be, right? So I think the transition is never easy, but it's very important, and it does give you a lot of room to learn new things. It makes you speak to new people that you wouldn't have otherwise, and then it also makes you think about what else are people doing out there, like what are other ways you could do, and you could kind of like build a career, earn more money, work from anywhere, travel the world, spend more time with your family. So I think all of these things then start becoming part of the conversation once you start thinking about how you would want your next 5 to 10 years, look like.
Amazing. Definitely. Gayu, help us as well. Yeah, let's hear from yourself about a success story that you've seen.
I think for me, the real win is when my mentee would like stop depending on me, and when he or she basically starts leading. I think that's where I see myself that, oh yes, Gayu, you've done pretty well. And like I said, in my career, I've had multiple opportunities for that. But I think if I have to say, the last that I remember of is when I was with Expo 2020. I was the commercial head, and I had a bunch of new, fresh graduates from college, very, very enthusiastic, but not really knowing what they were going to contribute to such a big event that was happening. And I think working with them, making them understand what their role was, helping them, through various steps. And when I see them where they are today, I'm like a proud mother there, it like makes me very, very happy. And even now they reach out saying, Gayu, I'm stuck here. What would you suggest? So, that's where I see that, Gayu, you've done pretty well. Like, I give myself a pat on my back. So I think that's where, when they completely stop depending fully on you and they are now becoming the future mentors, that's what I think is my step for me.
Fantastic. Coming full circle. That's it's an amazing feeling. Reem, what about yourself? Help us understand some success stories.
Actually, for me, I'll be very proud when I see someone of my mentees, like they put the content out. They finally don't think about like what the people will say, what they will, how they are looking like on the camera. They just put it out. They publish their episode. They do what they have been thinking a lot and planning a lot. And I want to share actually a defining a moment. I was working with one of the mentees on he's working on AI podcast in Arabic, and this guy was actually one of the biggest challenges with him is perfectionism. He wants everything to be perfect before starting and publishing the episode, so that's slowing him down. So through mentoring, I worked on shifting the mindset, focusing on the importance of consistency instead of the perfectionism. Step by step, this podcast actually, and it's only audio, it's not even because there was no any production to be visible on be recorded as a video and audio. It was only audio. So it placed the third place on Apple Podcasts for 3 full weeks in the technology category, because he took the step. He believed that the content, the visibility is not important, like how to be shown on the YouTube is not important as the content. The content is really important. The guests which he has is really important, and with the topics which he's discussing for AI is really unique and different. So when he believed that, and when he just kick-started, it's ranking very good, and it lasted the third place on Apple Podcasts for a full week in technology, and even it was shortlisted to one of the awards, but it didn't take the place. So I believe that, like, don't think and don't wait for to be perfect, to be ready, to be to be prepared. Just start with what you have and believe in yourself. So when they believe in themselves and they shout out and they do it, I'm very happy and proud of them.
Fantastic. I mean, I must say, I think it'd be a delight to be mentored by any one of you guys with such positivity. I think, John, I did just want to sort of highlight something, kind of that a theme that you mentioned, Roma, in terms of kind of how you sort of phrase that success story. It really reminded me of kind of a phenomenon. It's called the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but if you've ever thought, let's just say you're buying a car, for example. Let's say you really wanted to buy a blue car, and all of a sudden you just start to see blue cars everywhere, and it's like, oh, it's the universe trying to tell me something.
Yeah.
I think you can kind of draw parallels with mentoring. It kind of opens those channels in your brain where you're looking for opportunity. You're seeing things, as you said, you're seeing things in a different light for the first time. And it can be a huge accelerator without you even realizing, because you've just, dialed in, tuned into that frequency, and you're always seeing that blue car. You're always kind of striving for that next opportunity.
Yeah, like the blue car was always there. Your brain was just never registering it.
Correct. It was. So I really love that success story. Fantastic. Well, I think we've probably got time for one more question, and it's a quick one to finish. In one sentence, if mentoring the next generation were a superpower, what would yours be and why? Roma, kick us off.
Superpower. I think just knowing a little bit, not everything, just a little bit about the future. I think that would be the superpower, if I would say.
Fantastic. Reem?
For me, turning confusion into clarity, because let people stop overthinking, starting, showing up, and release that they are ready before they are even ready.
Fantastic. Gayu?
I would say helping you think out of the box. So just maybe just think different. I think that's what I kind of do with myself and with everybody else I work with.
Fantastic. Collectively, and this is not my superpower, but what I've felt from all three of you, I think if I would sum up your collective superpower, it would definitely be inspiring confidence. I think everything you've said this evening, I think will for people on that journey, I think would really inspire their confidence. I think that's such a powerful thing to do. Fantastic. Well, look, Grace, hopefully you're sort of online, and there you are. I think our section is complete. Over to you.
Yeah, wow. I enjoyed the whole conversation. The fun thing is when we plan for this session, okay, we have invited several mentors, but does the spark and chemistry, because the mentors are representing from wellness, from media podcasts, and from corporate architects, and from entrepreneurial side, and it's just amazing. And I hope the inspiring confidence would give to our audience attendees to feel free to unmute yourself to raise any question you have while I'm just scrolling all the question I got in my inbox. If anyone wants to unmute, yes, Vinit, please.
Hi, good evening. Thanks, Grace. Good evening to Alex. Good evening to all the speakers. I think very interesting talk, and very enriching to hear your experiences and answers to kind of all the questions which was discussed. I have a question on, like, as a mentee, what can mentees do? What are some tactics they can adopt to be more kind of mentorable, more coachable? kind of my view on this before I hand it to you, of course, is that I think as mentees, it's very important for us to not outsource and dump problems to mentors. I think whenever one is asking for help, it's always important for that person to first have a view, right, about how that problem can be solved. So then it's about sharing and solving that problem together or solving that experience together with the mentor. So this is just kind of one view I have, but from your experience, I'm curious to hear kind of what are some of the tactics mentees can adopt from a mindset perspective, from an initiative perspective, so that they can be, let's say, better mentorable or better coachable. Thank you.
If I can say, I'll say be inquisitive. I think never refrain from asking or doubting. If you have anything, just throw it. Yeah. I always say no question is stupid. So be as inquisitive as possible so that your mentor sees that you're more interested, and then it kicks off the relationship. So I would say from my point, I would say just be inquisitive, ask, and you shall receive.
What about the other mentors? I would love everyone to share your thoughts.
I would 100% agree with what Gayu said. I think it's good to be just out there, whatever questions that you have in mind, just go ahead and ask them. I do like the fact what Vineet mentioned, that you don't want to necessarily dump those problems out there, but I think it's just about just being inquisitive. And also you need to understand that the mentor out there also doesn't have all the answers. They've just had this experience before you, so they just know some things maybe more than you would have. They would just have more context about things. So I think it's kind of like a two-way thing. Whenever you come up and you ask questions, it also kind of like opens their brain to think more. So and also think about experiences which they may have had, but they were just not top of their mind. So I think you should be inquisitive and then be open to just hearing out their stories as well.
I always feel, I think the mentor also learns. I think it's just
Yeah.
not one side where the mentee is learning. Because of this whole chemistry, even the mentor is actually probably researching a little bit more to also help us. I think it's always a two-way, traffic that's there. So which is very fantastic. It's a lovely relationship that you have.
Yeah.
I think don't lose passion, because it's very important. I can support you, I can guide you, the mentor can help you, can give you all their knowledge, but they cannot give you the passion. So if you lose passion, it will be really hard to keep continuous on what you are doing, and to keep learning and to keep focusing. So I think this is a very important point.
If I may, I'll share something slightly different in terms of don't be afraid to sort of trust your instincts when you're talking to a mentor. You don't have to agree with everything that they are suggesting. And when I'm mentoring people, I like to kind of tell them this story to give them a bit of confidence. About 15 years ago, an ex-mentor of mine, I was asking him, should I take this job in Hong Kong, or should I take this other job back in the United Kingdom? And they immediately said, "Oh, you take the Hong Kong job, absolutely take it." And as soon as they said that, I felt inside that I didn't want that, and that was so powerful because that actually helped me make a decision. So I think that's also really key, to make sure that you are kind of in tune with how you feel. And don't worry if a mentor is suggesting to do something. If it's me, for example, I'll be doing it to provoke a reaction, because then you'll know whether you agree or you disagree.
Wow, great.
Makes sense. Thank you very much, Alex. Thank you very much to these speakers. Appreciate your answer.
Thank you, Vineet. We got 10 questions. I think I would just pick one to get a quick high-level sense of what our mentors think. This question is very meaningful. How can mentors help young professionals build a personal brand and sense of identity in workplaces increasingly shaped by automation and AI-driven decision-making?
Again, I think if I have to say, authenticity. I think especially they mentioned the whole thing, I think being more authentic, being more you, is what I would say will shape your brand. Because at the end of the day, you could wear a mask and say, I'm so and so, and speak in a different way. But then at the end of the day, that's not your true sense. So I would say that to build you right from the beginning, be more authentic. Voice, it should be your voice that's communicating in terms of whatever you believe. So that's very, very key right from beginning. A lot of brands, I'm telling you, even bigger brands also get that wrong, but even a lot of, like, now personal branding has become very key, because we now know the CEOs of the company. Earlier, they were sitting at the back and we only knew the brands, whereas now we know who's running them. And especially with the younger generation, they're all more, people focused. So I would say be authentic, because if you're trying to be fake, somewhere down the line, you will start realizing this is not me. So I would say just be yourself.
I couldn't agree more. And
Yes, I agree.
oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
I agree. Sorry for that, but I really agree with her, because even like in social media, if you copied a lot of people, or you took the same like line or what they are doing, or like same ideas, you will be known as they are copying them, that you are not authentic. So be yourself, believe in what you have as a story, and on your journey. Say it loud, share it with the people, and not even the success, even your low moments, even what was wrong, the mistakes. Share everything and be visible more with the people, engage with them actually on social media. That will help you a lot in your personal brand.
Definitely. I was just going to kind of add, actually, to try and tie those 2 points together. I think yes, it's, everyone's talking about, the age of AI and how it's going to be different in the workplace. Thankfully or fortunately, as mentors, we're old enough to have seen these trends, which are cyclical. Digitization was going to be, computers, that was going to be the end of the workforce. The internet was going to be the end of retail. Now AI is going to be the end of people working. It won't. It just, humans will adapt, and that life will carry on. So there'll be these things across your career that will look like that. But being yourself, you can only do that. So I would absolutely echo Gayu and Reem's advice there. Just continue to be yourself, and that will end up being your brand.
Yeah. And I'd just like to add one more point. I think about the personal brand bit. I think it's not just something which you can do on the side. I think it's a proper full-time thing which you need to kind of like invest your time and effort and creativity into. So even if, let's say, you're in a 9 to 5, working in office or remote, whatever it is, but you have like these 8 hours that you're putting in somewhere, I think even after that, you need to make sure that you're taking out at least a week or 2 or 3 weeks, 3 hours a week, and putting it into your personal branding, because, well, LinkedIn is your best friend. So you need to post there. You need to reach out to people for coffee chats. So you can't just take it very lightly. It's something that you have to actually invest time and effort into.
Wow. There's a food in Chinese called chicken essence. It's basically the essence of a type of soup. I feel that the mentoring today is the chicken essence of mentoring, that we got all the essence of different industry. It's fantastic. I'm really thankful for everyone for making time to share your perspective to the younger generation. And I look forward to engaging with you more in our community and maybe more opportunities in the future. And thank you everyone for dining in today. So have a good weekend.
Thank you,
Thank
Grace,
you
and
so
thank you,
much.
Alex.
Thank you. Take care.
Cheers.
Thank
Have
you.
a great weekend.
Agree.